All right, we're about to go behind the scenes of a company that's pretty much everywhere, but you probably never even noticed them. Today, we're going to crack open the Q3 2025 earnings report for a company called Ecolab, and our mission to find the real story hidden inside all those numbers.
I mean, really, think about it for a second. You know that clean hotel room you just stayed in? Or the safe meal you had at your favorite restaurant? Or even more important, the sterile environment in a hospital? Yeah, that stuff doesn't just happen. It's not an accident. There's this huge, complex industry working in the background to make sure everything is safe and sanitary.
And, well, right at the heart of that whole industry, you'll find this company, Ecolab. They're a global giant, and their entire focus is on protecting people and, the resources that are absolutely vital to life. We're talking everything from optimizing water use to stopping infections from spreading. Their work is seriously critical. See, a company's financial report, it's so much more than just a page of numbers. It's a story, really. It tells us which parts of our economy are humming along and where the challenges might be. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to find that story inside Ecolab's latest quarterly results. Okay, so let's start with the scorecard. The big headline numbers. What's the first thing that jumps out about how Ecolab did this quarter? All right, the first number that pops right off the page is a 4% increase in reported sales. And, that's solid, it's steady growth. But if you look just a little bit deeper, you find the really interesting number.
And boom, there it is, a 13% jump in adjusted earnings per share. Now, in simple terms, that's basically how profitable they are. And a huge leap like that, it tells us they're not just selling more stuff, they're actually making more money on every single sale. That's a big deal.
So the big question is, how'd they do it? Well, the company's CEO, Christoph Beck, he basically lays it out for us. He points directly to a classic 1-2 punch. They use some really smart pricing strategies, and at the same time, they just sold more stuff.
Okay, quick sidebar, because you're going to hear this term a lot in these kinds of reports, organic sales. It's a super important metric. The easiest way to think of it is as the purest measure of growth. It basically cuts out all the noise, weird currency changes, or if they just bought another company. It tells you exactly how the main core business is really doing.
All right, so now that we've got the big picture, let's go inside the engine room. It's time to pop the hood and see which parts of Ecolab's business are absolutely firing on all cylinders and which ones might be sputtering a little bit. So this table pretty much gives us a perfect map of their performance. Over on the left, you've got the real stars of the quarter. Pest Elimination, life sciences, all the services for hotels and restaurants, they're all booming. But then, on the right, you see the softer spots. Markets like basic industries and paper, and those can often be the first to feel it when the broader economy starts to slow down. Okay, now let's zoom in on those high-growth areas, because this is where it gets really interesting. The company actually calls out 4 specific growth engines that are powering their future. This is where the exciting part of the story is, for sure. The big takeaway here is that this isn't an accident. Ecolab is strategically pouring its focus into these 4 areas. And get this, when you bundle them all together, their combined growth is in the double digits. That tells you everything you need to know about where the company sees its future. And yeah, the numbers really do speak for themselves. You've got solid 6% growth in these core areas like pest elimination and life sciences. That's great. Then you see this leap into double-digit growth for their high-tech services. But the real showstopper, Ecolab Digital, a massive 25% growth. That's a huge sign that data and software are becoming a monster part of their business. Let's make this a little more real for a second. The pest elimination business, this isn't just about, setting a few traps. It's a seriously high-tech service that's absolutely essential for food safety and public health. And clearly, it is in super high demand across some really critical sectors. And it's a similar story with their life sciences division. They're just riding this massive wave of growth in biotech and pharma. Think about it. They provide these super specialized cleaning and sanitation stuff that you have to make life-saving drugs. It's a really high-stakes, high-growth field to be in.
Okay, so the performance is clearly strong. We've established that. But, no company operates in a bubble. So let's zoom back out for a minute and look at the road ahead. What are the potential challenges, and what does the company think is going to happen?
And to their credit, the report is very upfront about the potential bumps in the road. And honestly, these are the big global issues you hear about all the time, the ones affecting pretty much every major company today. We're talking geopolitical instability, weirdness with international trade, and of course, those crazy, unpredictable supply chains. It's a complicated world out there. And yet, Even with all those risks sitting right there on the table, Ecolab is projecting some serious confidence. They're actually forecasting 12 to 14% earnings growth for the full year. I mean, that is a bold statement. It tells you a lot about how resilient they think their business is.
Okay, so for the last part here, let's connect all this back to the real world. I mean, why should we care? Why does the performance of a company like Ecolab matter to anyone besides its shareholders?
Well, it matters because their business sits right at the intersection of some major global needs. Think about it. In a world that's getting more and more worried about resource scarcity, they're the ones helping massive industries get way more efficient with water and energy. And that's fundamental to sustainability. And check this out, because this is a wild detail. The report specifically calls out a very, very modern driver of their business, the absolutely huge amount of water it takes to cool the data centers that, you guessed it, power artificial intelligence. So as this whole AI revolution just keeps accelerating, the demand for managing that water just skyrockets.
So what this really shows us is that Ecolab isn't just some cleaning company. No way. They are a critical resource management and public health company. Their success is a direct reflection of these huge global trends. Our demand for food safety, the big push for sustainability, and yeah, the hidden physical costs of our increasingly digital world. And that leaves us with one last kind of provocative thought to chew on. You know, we always think of tech titans as software companies or chip makers. But as AI continues its absolutely explosive growth, could it be that the companies who manage the physical resources it desperately needs, like water and energy, will they become the new titans of the modern economy? It's definitely something to think about.